Welcome to the Fish Nerds Podcast. It's a celebration of fish, fishing, and eating fish. I'm Clay Groves. Hey, so today, it's all me by myself. It's actually 4 in the morning on Monday, the day I'm supposed to have a podcast out by 5 or 6 in the morning. And so, sorry I'm late. But I am so happy that you're hanging out with us. Today's kind of a leftover podcast day with Thanksgiving having just passed. But we have some stories that have been sitting in our inbox for a few weeks, and it's time to dress it up and put it on the table. But before we do that, here's a word from our sponsor. Hey, do you like fishing? Of course you do. Why else would you be listening to this show? If you are in New England and want a unique family ice fishing adventure, consider booking a trip with the Fish Nerds Guide Service. Join me, Clay Groves, a licensed fishing guide, for a great day on the ice. The Fish Nerds Guide Service is the only ice fishing service guiding in the Mount Washington Valley, so that makes us the best. We are booking now for winter of 2017. Our focus is on family fishing adventures. We offer 4 and 7 hour trips. And coming in February, we'll offer a romantic romance or bromance package of night fishing. And we'll target the most romantic of all of New Hampshire's fish. Head to fishnerds.com for more information. Another quick announcement. The Fish Nerds will be spending 3 days this year at the New England Outdoor Expo. That's nefishingexpo.com, January 27, 28, and 29. Go Fish Dan puts on a great show, so so you should plan on visiting us there, because I get lonely. We will be interviewing fishing greats like Mike Iaconelli and Mike Del Visco and anyone else we can find named Mike while we're there. So come on down to the New England Fishing Expo and check it out. The amazing James, Fish Nerds correspondent from the F&W West, had a chance to talk with legendary artist Joe Tomelleri about his trout expeditions into Mexico. A couple weeks ago, we had part 1. Here is part 2 of that interview. And you can go to fishnerds.com to link back to the first part of the interview.
Hey nerds, Amazing James here. This week we have the second part of our series with Joe Tomelleri. He's a scientific illustrator who does amazing work with fish, including the jaguar trout. Bill Murray, eat your heart out. Are you recording?
As far as I can tell.
Me too. Okay, let's see what happens. So Joe, you recently produced a movie called Truchas Mexicanas. And did I get to see the world premiere of it? Probably not.
No, but you got to see the internet premiere, let's say that.
Yeah, I know I was pretty darn close because you told me about it like the day before you sent me the link, and you were like, I'm just wrapping up a couple things and I'm going to post it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I belong to a group called Truchas Mexicanas, and we're American and Mexican scientists. And we've been traveling to Chihuahua and Durango, Mexico since 1997 to collect native trout in the Sierra Madre there.
And you found somewhere around the order of 12 new species?
We think there are probably at least 12 separate lineages of trout there that could be considered species, and there may be. And
in the film,
I'm thinking there's going to end up being more, but some of the genetic work is not done, and some of it is still being analyzed.
And some of these are just beautiful. I mean, I'm looking at a poster of 12 of them. I don't know if these are all the ones you guys have found, but the one I love the most is the Rio Piaxla, and it looks like a cross between every trout species I've ever seen in my life, plus grayling. It's got this beautiful flowing dorsal with like a white stripe across the top.
Yeah.
What would be the common name for that one if it had one?
We've been talking about calling it maybe the jaguar trout because it has so many spots. It has more spots than just about any trout, maybe with the exception of coastal cutthroat or possibly Snake River cutthroat have a lot of spots. But these have them all.
Did you run out of Did you run out of colored pencils on this one?
Well, I'll tell you what. You have to put that many spots on it. You want to run out because it takes when you're doing a scientific illustration, you want the spots to be in the right place. So a lot of times they're being measured. The distance between the spots and the size of the spots. So the drawing will represent the species well.
It's a beautiful fish. They all look totally different, and there's one that looks like a cutthroat. Oh, it is a cutthroat, the Rio Grande cutthroat. Look at that. There's the Apache trout, which kind of looks like a cutthroat, but it doesn't have the cutthroat part. There's some really neat stuff.
Now, one thing about all the Mexican trout are, they are more closely related to rainbows, but almost all of the native ones there have some tint of gold to them, so they do look a lot like the golden trout in California.
Yeah. Now, if you want to look at this poster online, folks, you can find it. Just Google "Poster de Truchas Mexicanas." I don't even know what link I'm on. It's someone's blog. It looks like a Blogspot thing. Could be from Truchas Mexicanas, which is the other website where all of the information about the project is. But if you want to watch the film, how do we find the film?
You'll have to just Google online. Go look for Truchas Mexicanas, and Truchas, Truchas. Mexicanas is Mexicanas. And there's only one Truchas Mexicanas movie on YouTube. So it's on
YouTube. And in fact, I just Googled Truchas Mexicanas, and it is the first YouTube link.
Yay, we're numero uno.
Yeah, you are.
Now, with the movie, and it took about 2 years to put everything together because we had photographs and video for over 20 years that we collected. And so it was quite a project. Took a long time to sync it all together. And
I see in the film you have stuff here from, obviously from the 90s. It's not like today's modern HD stuff.
No.
But it also has but it has the modern HD stuff too, because you're going back into these canyons and these crevasses that are just, incredible on high desert plain essentially. And I guess the only way to get the real view of what this country is like is to use a drone, which you brought a drone down there, I take it.
Right. Yeah. I bought a couple of drones because I was afraid that flying in those canyons, that one of them.
Wait! I want to stop. I want to stop you right there. You bought a couple of drones because you're an uber nerd.
No. Well, I am that, but that's not why I bought 2 drones.
I don't even have a nerd. I mean, a drone. You have 2.
I got 2 drones because I was afraid I was going to lose one, and I didn't want to make a trip all the way down there and have my first drone wreck, and then be without a drone to get the footage that I wanted to get. So,
did you ever consider using one of those balloon remote control fish to do this?
No, not at all.
No, have you seen those?
No.
No. Oh, you got to look those up. They're great. Yeah, Animal Planet or Discovery Channel put those out a while back, and they're really hard to find now. But yeah, it's like a little remote control balloon fish. And they're awesome. They were selling them in malls, and they were like.
Oh yeah, I have seen that with different animals and I think.
So Truchas Mexicanas is a really awesome film, and I really enjoyed watching it. You definitely have put a lot of effort into this project, and not only with the film itself, but the artwork is gorgeous. These fish are just incredible. And I take it we're documenting these, more or less to track species, and their habitat must be kind of endangered, I would assume.
Yeah, there's endangered in a number of different ways. One is from, especially in the conchos, there's a couple species there that we, I'm going to say discovered, but the native people there, the Raramuri, or the Tarahumaranes as they're known. They're the great runners, the long-distance runners from Mexico, and they're native people, and they've sort of been pushed up into the mountains by the Mexicans and the Spanish over the years. But they've known about the trout probably for thousands of years, is our best guess. But the trout were unknown to science. Now, they were known to be on the Pacific coast, but these trout that are most familiar to the Tarahumarans are in the Rio Conchos Basin, which feeds into the Rio Grande. So that's on the Atlantic slope. And these were the first trout from Mexico that were found in the Atlantic slope. And we had to work quite a bit and talk to them and try to find out where these trout were. And it took actually quite a bit of study and quite a bit of searching to be able to find them, because they're very rare now. And
did you have to go on long distance jogs to get to know them well? And
no, we didn't. We went on some long distance hikes, but we couldn't keep up with those guys. You're not doing like 100-milers or anything like that. No, but they do. They'll have races. The Raramuri will have races among themselves regularly of 50 miles.
Yeah, yeah. No, they were just featured, I think, or they were mentioned in a thing about the guy who founded Nike. He apparently somehow learned about them. It was something I heard on the TED Radio Hour.
They're very nice people, and they live. Most of them don't have electricity, or they might live in a log cabin. Very few of them still would live in caves, but they use caves generally to herd some of their sheep into. Sometimes, but they have their own language, but most of them will speak Spanish also. But they call the trout, their word for trout is aparique or apari, and they distinguish that from the Mexican or the Spanish word for trout, which is trucha or truchas, as the name of the film is. So when you're talking to the Raramuri, we want to ask them if they know where the apariques are, because they distinguish the apariques from the truchas. To them, a truchas is a hatchery rainbow trout that might have escaped into a stream, and the aparique is a native fish.
That's pretty cool. And these guys are more closely related to the rainbow trout that are on the the west side of the Continental Divide.
Right. All of the both on the Conchos and in the Sierra Madre on the Pacific side, both sides, these are more closely related to the rainbow trout. And we originally thought, when we were searching in the Conchos, if we were going to find trout, it's an awfully large basin, but we thought if we were going to find trout, because it's connected to the Rio Grande, and the Rio Grande has cutthroats, that we might find cutthroat trout native to Mexico. But we knew as soon as we caught these trout for the first time that they weren't cutthroat, that they were related to those on the Pacific slope of Mexico.
That just amazes me, because as an East Coaster coming out west, if I recognize a fish out here, then I know it doesn't belong here. So there's no fish that I know here, from when I grew up. Largemouth bass, non-native.
Right.
What else?
Carp.
Well, except for
flatheads,
carp,
you probably have some flatheads, green sunfish, bluegill.
Any catfish? Yeah, there's no catfish native to here. There's no sunfish except for the Sacramento perch. The largest predator fish that we have here native is the Sacramento pike minnow, and that's it's just amazing. So when people came from back east and saw what was here, they had no idea what they were looking at, didn't know how to catch anything. So what they do, they brought everything with them that they knew, which is amazing, because now all these native fish out here are kind of, I don't know if they're all in trouble. I think your friend Dr. Moyle would have something to say about that. But
and they brought too many brook trout.
It's pretty incredible. Are there brook trout out here? I haven't seen it.
Well, they're all over in the Sierra. And
that's my problem. I haven't gotten up to the mountains to do any fly fishing, but maybe you should come out here for a visit, and we should go and do some Sierra fly fishing.
Yeah, I've done that with Ralph Cutter. We made a couple trips up there to get fish do illustrations for the Sierra Trout Guide for his book.
I was gonna say, it sounds like a guy who knows what he's doing. So maybe you should just stick to that.
He's a wonderful guy. He's a wonderful guide. Yeah.
Yeah. Truchas Mexicanas, awesome film. Check it out, nerds, and get to know Joe. Joe Tomelleri is available at AmericanFishes.com. And don't forget to check out his, what is it, every 3 weeks you do your fish quiz?
Yeah, I'll put a new one up about every 3 weeks.
Nice. The fish quiz is a good way to get some free swag from Joe. Just putting it out there, nerds. If you want some free swag from Joe Tomelleri, check out his website. And I guess that's all the time we have today. Thanks for hanging out with me, Joe. It's really been a blast.
Well, it's been a thrill for me. And if your listeners are really nerds, they're going to watch the whole movie.
I watched the whole movie.
Oh, that's so nerdy.
Thank you very much. And may the fish be with you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this.
You're welcome.
After my Thanksgiving dinner, I was reflecting on the year and being what I'm thankful for. And I got to tell you, I'm really thankful for all the Fish Nerds correspondents who all started as Fish Nerds fans, who are helping keeping this show going. Really, without the help of people like the F. West, Doc Martin, Hugo, and anybody else who's been part of the show, I didn't make a list, we would not be able to keep this show going. So really appreciate it. If you have stories to tell, you want to be part of the show, reach out to us. We're always looking for new ideas and new people and new voices and new stories. Just email clay@fishnerds.com or find me on Facebook or Twitter and say, hey, Clay, I got an idea. And we'll try it out. Speaking of correspondence, Captain Sean Tibbetts from MaineTunaFishing.com, who's been helping us with the show for years, just as a supportive listener and friend, taking us shark fishing and all that. He wanted to make sure that our show didn't forget that lots of fans that we have are vets. So he said, why doesn't he take on the role as our new correspondent, our news correspondent, fishing vets in the news. He wants to make sure the news features vets. So Captain Sean has taken the nerds fishing. More importantly, Sean's Marine Corps vet. Not all nerds are wusses, as you know. Anyway, we thank Sean for his service and all vets, and welcome Sean to the team.
Welcome, fellow fish nerds. Captain Sean here. We're going to try out a new segment, Veterans in the News. Why, you might ask? Well, without veterans, none of us would be free to hunt, fish, and pursue happiness as we see fit. What is a veteran? Well, the best way I know to explain what a veteran is a short essay. The author is unknown. It's entitled, What is a Veteran? What is a veteran? Some veterans bear visible signs of their service. A missing limb, a jagged scar, a certain look in the eye. Others may carry the evidence inside them, a pin holding a bone together, a piece of shrapnel in the leg, or perhaps another sort of inner steel. The soul's alloy, forged in the refinery of adversity. Except in parades, however, the men and women who have kept America safe wear no badges or emblems. You can't tell a vet just by looking. What is a vet? He's a cop on the beat who spent 6 months in Saudi Arabia, sweating 2 gallons a day to make sure the armored personnel carriers didn't run out of fuel. He's the barroom loudmouth, dumber than 5 wooden planks, whose overgrown frat boy behavior is outweighed 100 times in the cosmic scale by 4 hours of exquisite bravery near Tora Bora. She or he is the nurse who fought against brutality, went to sleep sobbing every night for 2 solid years in Da Nang. He's the POW who went away one person, came back another, or perhaps didn't come back at all. He's a Quantico drill instructor who's never seen combat, but has saved countless lives by turning slouchy, no-account rednecks and gang members into Marines and teaching them to watch each other's backs. He's the parade-riding Legionnaire who pins on his ribbons and medals with a prosthetic hand. He's a career quartermaster who watches the ribbons and medals pass by him. He's the 3 anonymous heroes in the Tomb of the Unknowns, whose presence at Arlington National Cemetery must forever preserve the memory of all the anonymous heroes whose valor remains unrecognized with them in the battlefield or in the ocean's sunless depth. He's the old guy bagging groceries at the supermarket, aggravatingly slow. He helped liberate a Nazi death camp, and he wishes all day long his wife were still alive to hold him when the nightmares come. He or she is the ordinary and yet extraordinary human being, a person who offered some of their life's most vital years in the service of their country, and who sacrificed their ambitions so others would not have to sacrifice theirs. He or she is a soldier, sailor, marine, or airman, and also a savior and a sword against the darkness. And he or she is nothing more than the finest, greatest testimony on behalf of the finest, greatest nation ever known. So remember, each time you see someone who has served our country, when you see one, just lean over and say thank you. That's all most people need, and in most cases, it'll mean more than any medals they could have ever been awarded. A veteran is someone who at one point in their life wrote a blank check made payable to the people of the United States of America for an amount up to and including their life, and that is an honor. And for that honor, we deserve to honor them. So we'll move on to our new segment, Veterans in the News. Kennebunkport, Maine. Wounded veterans gathered in Kennebunkport Wednesday for a few hours of fishing. It's the second year Cabela's has teamed up with Wounded Heroes Program of Maine to offer the trip as a thank you. It gets them out of their own heads, which is the worst place for them to be, said the founder of Wounded Heroes Program, Pam Payer. 11 captains sacrificed their time, their boats, and their equipment for those who themselves sacrificed so much. The 24th of March 2007, I hit an IED and just mangled my left leg. Brandon Denton and Mike Payer were looking forward to a day on the water with the guys who understand the daily struggles of returning home. It's always nice to talk to people who have been in the same situation you have and get to share the like experiences with people who know what you're talking about and can understand what you're going through. It really helps to be able to kind of vent and relieve some stress. Well, the goal of the day was to relax and connect with others. Pam Payer says it's also a form of healing. It's not a forced connection, it's not a support group, it's not in a clinical setting, it's on a level playing field. A surprise twist to kick off the morning, President George W. Bush drove by in his boat, saluting the crews and leading them out to sea. It's just our way of being able to say thank you, said Cabela's retail manager, Greg Serpis. These guys are the reasons we have the freedoms we have. After a few hours on the water, the veterans were brought back to shore for a steak and lobster dinner.
Wow. Thanks, Sean. That was pretty heavy stuff, but really important that we hear it once in a while. Now let's lighten things up just a little bit.
Alright, fish nerds. This story comes to us from Geek Tech. Big Mouth Billy Bass gets a brain transplant, becomes a fishy Alexa. Great, this should be good. Some of you might remember Big Mouth Billy Bass from his numerous hilarious TV appearances. Well, he's back, and this time he's not singing Don't Worry, Be Happy. Billy's been given a properly geeky upgrade for 2016 thanks to Brian Kane, the industrial group at Rhode Island School of Design. They removed his primitive turn of the millennium brain and replaced it with full-blown artificial intelligence. Meet Alexis Bass, the taxidermied virtual assistant of Jeff Foxworthy's wildest dreams. She's powered, obviously, by Amazon's in-house assistant and ready to serve. It's even more satisfying to see Billy Bass flap his jaws to Alexa's responses like an actor in a badly dubbed kung fu movie than it was to hear him sing and spout. Maybe not quite as satisfying as hearing him recite Monty Python like someone modded him to do back in 2009, but... So where did the idea for this amazing, or nightmarish, depending on your feelings, come from? Kane says it was meant as an in-class demo on rapid prototyping for my new AL design course. He doesn't mention technical details, but it's likely he and his students took advantage of the Alex API. Amazon opened access to it shortly after they launched the Echo Dot, whatever this thing is, in April of this year. Maybe him and his students will take on iconic talking bric-a-brac from the not-too-distant past. Perhaps an Alex Ruxpin is in the offering, or a Furbexta. I don't know what any of this stuff is, and this is way too technical for me. Alright, this story comes for us from the Associated Press, New York, November 14th, 2016 at 17:12 Eastern Standard Time. PetSmart fined for not reporting injury-causing fish bowls. PetSmart will pay $4.25 million civil fine for not quickly reporting defective fish bowls that cause serious injuries at least a dozen times. The Consumer Product Safety Commission said Monday that injuries include deep cuts requiring stitches and severed tendons that required surgery after bowls cracked or shattered. The pet product retailer sold the bowls under the Great Choice and Top Fin brands from March 2010 through September 2013. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says the Phoenix Company will also work on improving compliance with consumer safety laws. Well, just my opinion, but if you buy a glass fish bowl, you drop it, it breaks, and you cut yourself, yeah, you bought a glass fish bowl. It's kind of your fault.
Okay, hey, thanks, Captain Sean. Let us know what you think about fishing vets in the news. And Sean is looking for stories. So if you see or hear about a fishing story that involves a vet, send us an email at info@fishnerds.com, or better yet, join our Fish Nerds Facebook group and share your story there. And you can tag Sean in that, and he will add it to his list. All right, so November, it's almost over. In fact, some of you guys may be catching this late. It might be over already for you. And it was National Novel Writers Month. The Fish Nerds have been trying to put together a book. We've got a handful of entries, but not nearly enough for a whole book. So we're going to extend our deadline till the end of December to try and get more stories. We're looking for 20 or 30 fishing adventure stories that we can compile into a Fish Nerds compendium of sorts. We want to make sure that your voices are heard. So if you've got a fishing story that you want to tell, write it down, send it to clay@fishnerds.com, and the amazing James will help us edit this into a book. We're looking for a story that's 300 words or more. You can share pictures. You can share anecdotes. It can be any kind of story you want, but we really want to focus on adventure. But style of writing, that's on you. And we'll put it together, and you can be part of the very first Fish Nerds crowdsourced book. Again, clay@fishnerds.com if you got a story to tell, and we need your stories. Hit us up. So that's it. You've listened to a couple of Fish Nerds, or a few Fish Nerds, when you should have been fishing. We'd like to thank our families for supporting us while we podcast, go on fishing quests, and do all sorts of silly things that nerds do. If you would like to support the Fish Nerds, go to patreon.com, search for Fish Nerds, and help us crowdfund this show. Very special thanks to Captain Sean for his new segment. Big thank you to Amazing James and the F and West for their contribution. In fact, the whole show today was really F and West and Captain Sean. And of course, Joe Tomelleri for coming on, and we'll have links at fishnerds.com. And until next time, follow the code of the Fish Nerds, spawn early and often, avoid free lunches with strings attached, and swim against the current every chance you get. Next week, we'll be back with a full-length show, and I'm glad you guys are with us.